Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny weapons, abilities, loadouts, and the sandbox at large. And we really appreciate all of you joining us tonight. And we especially appreciate our two special guests here from Bungie, who I will now ask to introduce themselves. Merc, tell the people who you are.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mercules. Some of you may know me from previously being on the show in a less official function. And since April, I have been an associate weapons designer at Bungie working on Destiny 2.
Good call. And other handsome gentlemen, who are you?
This can only assume you're talking about me. Yeah, I'm Chris Proctor. I'm a senior design lead at Bungie and the weapons lead on Destiny 2.
Good call. I really appreciate both of you coming on the show tonight and giving your time, especially because you don't really have to, but it's these really rare, special interactions with the community that we very much appreciate. It's always a treat. And to you, the listeners at home, I just want to give a couple notes right off the bat. Note number one, we appreciate all of you submitting questions. Whoever is typing, cool guy, I think that is you. That is way loud, brother.
I'm so sorry.
All good, my guy. We appreciate you submitting a bunch of questions on Twitter, everywhere for Merc and Chris to cover tonight. I do want to cover and again reiterate, these guys work on the weapons team. That is what the discussion is going to be limited to tonight. Just in the same way that you wouldn't go to a vegetable grocer and ask them about the best cuts of meat from the butcher, we are not going to be able to talk about matchmaking, including skill-based matchmaking, anything that falls outside of the umbrella of what they do. They are here to talk about the sandbox as it pertains to weapons in D2. That is what they are here to talk about. So we appreciate them for their time. Hopefully in the future, all those wonderful questions they asked on Twitter can get answers. But to those of you who submitted weapon questions, we greatly appreciate you. So I'm just going to give a quick 30,000 foot view of what we probably will be talking about in case you want to stick around. We're going to talk about Season 19 weapons and Season 19 perks in the sandbox. We're going to talk about the AE system in D2. And maybe later on, we'll dive into a couple listener questions. And if we're fortunate, we might hear a little bit about a potential upcoming exotic. So stay tuned for that. And I'm just going to kick the ball over to... Who am I going to kick the ball to? Actually, no, I guess myself, because we have a bunch of questions about Season 19. Okay. I know normally we do a great, flowery introduction. Cammy, how are you? None of that today. We're just going to dive right in. Season 19 weapons, the design philosophy. Do either of you want to speak to what was the kind of goal you had for creating the fun new weapons that we have in Season 19? What was the plan? Did you have schematics drawn up with certain ideas in mind? What's going on there?
So we do have a specific number of weapons that we make for each source each season, which you can easily reverse engineer by looking at how many things we make for each one. But for Season 19 specifically, weapons team really wanted to try and do a push on foundries. So almost every weapon in the season is associated with a foundry. We just wanted to see whether other folks were as excited about weapon foundries as we were.
From the questions on Twitter, I would feel like a lot of people are, in fact, excited about foundries in the way that you are.
Foundries are kind of cool, right? Because each one has their own little bit of a unique identity, and especially now that we've added origin perks to them and stuff, it serves to further differentiate them, right? Mm-hmm. A Suros hand cannon has its own feel compared to maybe an Omelon hand cannon, just like the way an Omelon pulse rifle now has a different feel from, a Hawkeye pulse rifle or something like that. So
sure.
I've personally as a player and also as a designer been really digging the foundry thing, a ton actually. So it's been super fun to be able to work with a lot of those weapons and bring back weapons that kind of fit in slots that we didn't really have before. I'm sure some of you guys, I know Cool Guys got a video out on it, but the Vice Stasis Scout Rifle and everything like that.
Oh, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say is the key defining feature of the current foundry?
Which foundry, like Vice specifically, or just like any foundry?
I could ask you what your favorite is. I'm a fan of Viced. I think I really enjoy that foundry.
Right now, probably Vice is my favorite because I love the Black Scorpion and I love the new Vice Scout rifle too. Like I'm a big fan of the rapid fire scouts in PvP. But man, Hawke is like really stealing me away. I've been really digging the Pursuit pulse rifle. I'm a fan of kill clip. Anything with kill clip, basically.
The Veles, the
Veles X or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I really have been enjoying that a lot. And so I've been, using that to break barricades and stuff in the comp playlist. And then I've also got my eyes on a pretty dirty like Gear Falcons build with it as well. So
excellent. Did you have any particular challenges in creating the new weapons that we have here in season 19 that maybe the average player might not know the struggle behind the scenes of what you're trying to put together?
We did a bunch of new, what we would call weapon subfamilies. I guess community often calls them archetypes, but like the three new aggressive subfamilies of weapons. There was the aggressive glaive in the seasonal set, the sort of aggressive double fire grenade launcher, and the aggressive scout rifle in the dungeon. Like all of that is quite a lot of heavy lifting. I'm not sure how apparent that is, but yeah, it's a bunch of work to get those things in. Also, trying to find a bunch of weapons which we could all easily associate with a foundry was harder than you might think. While still delivering like a modern weapon set. It's what, like 25 weapons or something.
Who made the mini DMT, the long arm? Can I ask that question?
Yeah, that was me. I did the dungeon weapons.
Got it.
Little weird hipfire reticles with the horns.
Yeah, all the way down to the reticle.
Dude,
that's cool.
I love that long arm DMT Junior. Very much fun to use. I'm really enjoying that a lot.
Yeah, we always intended that, like we built this really cool lever action scout rifle for DMT, and it always killed me that typically for an exotic, you just do it as a one-off. So we built it in a way that let us like build legendary scout rifles off of that same animation set and everything. So there'll for sure be more of those coming in the future.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a challenge when you have the ability to make a legendary scout rifle and you're like, well, we're kind of modeling it off DMT, but we don't want, how do I put this, the student to surpass the master, right? Is it restricting trying to make a cool kind of legendary knockoff gun without trying to overshadow the inspiration?
Can be. I think in the case of DMT, particularly with the recent, like we sort of made a bug fix, or like what looked like a really small change, right? Like where the hip fire on most weapons will give you body shots by default if you're close, even if you're close to the head. And we changed that setting so it prefers crits for Dead Man's Tail, and that just like catapulted its effectiveness way up. So there's no way that a legendary version is going to surpass that in its current form. But I think for exotics in general, that is sometimes a risk. Like if you were to say, oh, I'm going to make a what's an example? Like before we buffed scout rifles a lot, like you could imagine a legendary scout rifle surpassing Jade Rabbit, for example. If the exotic isn't super strong, then that's for sure a risk. I think there are probably examples where we've power crept past some exotics with legendaries.
That definitely has happened in the past, but whatever. Who I just anyone on the show, Cool Guy, Cammy, Drew, have y'all been tinkering with DMT at all?
Oh yeah,
I have a bit.
I'm like almost GA'd.
Dude,
Gentleman's agreement, like don't pull it out unless someone else pulls it out.
I've had agreements like that before, Cammy. I'll say more about that later. But yeah. DMT feeling great right now with that change from the TWAB about like, oh yeah, it'll prioritize the body shot from the hip fire. It feels really clean.
It feels nice aiming at the head instead of trying to finesse above the head on the health bar to bend the bullet in my favor.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, that was pretty entertaining. I think that's what, like there was one of the questions on Twitter was asking about the pie problem, which I think is referring to, you have to like have a little triangle above their head that you try and put the reticle into. You no longer have to do that with DMT.
The pie problem.
Yeah, there's like a pie slice. Basically, like if you are shooting around the head of a player with DMT, there's like an arc where you'll hit headshots, and then there's like a little cutout where you won't hit headshots anymore, and it was like the pie slice. And so people were saying like with Mida, you have to put the little hat on their head.
Put the hat on, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it was kind of like that with DMT, right? But this, this fixed that issue. So no more pie slice for at least for DMT.
Fair. Going a little rogue here, only because Chris mentioned he made the dungeon weapons. Merc, what are some of your pieces of handiwork in season 19 that maybe you could speak to?
So I have been working basically on any reward that comes from PvP or events has been my thing. So that's kind of like the little section that I've carved out for myself. So like the Iron Banner rewards, the Trials weapons, I think the Dawning weapons right now are like the topical ones. And then obviously like the Crucible playlist drop. So I think this season it's a rocket launcher. So those have been mine. And like that has been an absolute blast to work on because like those are obviously the things that I participate in like by far the most in this game. So I'm basically like, what would I like to see in an arc lightweight submachine gun?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, exactly this. And then I get to make it for myself. So it's been super, super fun. I think you could maybe argue that I may have gone a bit wild with power on some of the event weapons. But you know, they're fun. They're good guns,
whatever.
Right?
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you make Rose?
No, that was Chris. He kept that one for himself.
Yep. Yeah. The running joke is I made Rose and Merc made Exalted Truth, and everyone has to vote on which is the best, and it's a competition.
Yeah, we couldn't make them too similar though. So Chris got to reserve a bunch of perks for Rose, but like the idea was that Rose is going to be like the best consistency hand cannon in the game for PvP, right? Like it is stacked with dueling perks and consistency perks. And then Exalted Truth, on the other hand, is going to be like one of the best, or hopefully going to be one of the best, like kill chaining hand cannons in the game, right? So it's stacked with a bunch of stuff that rewards you for staying in combat or that rewards you for getting kills.
Man, when I looked at all the perk options that could drop with new Rose, I was like, wow, it was like they just took literally like all my favorite hand cannon perks and just put them on one roll, maybe with the exception of Vorpal Weapon. But like, yeah, just it's so hard to not get a god roll. I feel like I'm mainly looking at like column 2 and the masterwork, because I know column 3 and 4 will be fine in terms of getting a good roll for PvP.
That's sort of the whole point, right? Like,
yeah,
because we wanted this to be something where you do want to come back and play comp every week and get a couple of drops of Rose or whatever, but we never wanted you to walk away from that being disappointed by the drops. So the idea is every single drop should be a potential PvP god roll, which sets the unfortunate expectation that next time we do a comp weapon, it's got to hit that same mark, which is way harder to do on some other weapon types, right? Like,
yeah, that is fair. Merc, any perks you had a hand in for season 19 that you feel like patting yourself on the back for a little bit?
Honestly, like the one that I'm kind of most excited about is Cascade Point, right? Which is like Harmony and Desperado mixed together. So if you get a kill or sustained precision damage with another weapon, you can swap to the weapon that has Cascade Point on, and for a brief period of time, you have like a wildly faster rate of fire. And it's actually like, it's super, super fun. Like I'm all about like playing mini games while I'm playing, right? Like there's a reason that I love weapons like Symmetry and Touch of Malice and stuff, where I'm like trying to do something to then do something else that's more powerful. And the like Cascade Point mini game is just super, super fun to me, because like there's the getting a kill with another weapon or getting precision hits, and then there's a swapping to it and like trying to take advantage of this small window where your time to kill is just like ridiculously fast. So I really like Cascade Point. I also helped our weapons intern on a couple perks, which are Perfect Float and like Shot Swap. And like honestly, like I'm pretty happy with all the perks from season 19. My season 18 perks weren't necessarily like super, super well received. I think they were a little bit too like niche in terms of like what Gut Shot and Slick Draw do. And under or over, whatever it ended up being named. But like I really like the set of season 19 perks I worked on.
Does that hurt you in a personal way when you design a perk and it maybe doesn't land the way you want it to land?
No, because like I knew going into it what Slick Draw and Gut Shot were going to be for specifically, and it was like they're going to do interesting things on certain weapons where they like dramatically change the functionality of that gun, right? Like I personally use Gut Shot 100% on my Allied Demand sidearm, right? Because it changes the body shot TTK, and it allows me to basically just like spam body shots, and I don't care about losing the aim assist. Or like on the Trials bow, right? Like Gut Shot's a great perk, so. I knew that they were going to be like more niche or like Slick Draw on an aggressive frame sniper, right? Like the aim assist cone is already so small that Slick Draw functionally like doesn't do a ton to it. So you basically can get maxed handling on an aggressive frame sniper, which is super fun.
Yeah.
So like I knew that they were going to be pretty niche and like probably weren't going to be like gangbusters, but like I really, really wanted to build them for like reasons. And so I did. The under like over one against Overshields, I'm like a little bit disappointed in, only because like it's kind of a bummer that it takes up a perk slot and isn't like an origin perk or something like that, because I feel like it'd see like a ton more use if it was. But it's like it's hard to justify in that right column taking it over something like a damage boosting perk. So that one maybe might be a candidate for me to like revisit in the future and do something too. But yeah, the other ones, like they were good learning experiences for me, and like I still get some use out of them. So at least it's not like a complete wash.
That's fair.
If I remember correctly, AR's got a Gut Shot buff. Does that sound about right?
So I'd originally set up Gut Shot to be, it would increase damage based on like, I think it was based on like the rate of fire of the weapon. And I realized like too late, kind of like in the middle of it being basically shipped, that like, oh, I should have done it based on the precision hit multiplier of the gun, right? And so like I had lumped in auto rifles and pulse rifles with sidearms and SMGs in terms of the damage boost that they got. And like it really, they should not have been included. Like sidearms and SMGs kind of do their own thing, right? Like they have really low crit multipliers. So the difference between the body shot damage and the crit damage is pretty small. So it's okay for them to not get a very big bump from Gut Shot because they benefit a lot from even like a tiny one. But stuff like auto rifles, pulse rifles, hand cannons, scouts, like they need more of a damage boost. So I switched auto rifles over to the same damage boost as hand cannons and scouts, and I did something else with the pulse rifle one, but can't talk about that yet. So,
yeah, but watch your what you say. I believe DMG is in the live chat right now, so
yeah, the Bungie sniper's outside my window.
Locked and ready to go. Boys, which is your between Cammy, Cool Guy, Drew? Do you guys have a favorite new perk or weapon of the season, real quick?
It's been a while since we've been on here. I would say the Macabre snipe.
I love the Macabre.
I know it's not season 19, but it was a last holiday event.
Drew, you were briefly talking about a perfect float before we went live.
I said I don't even have the perk yet. It's my favorite perk.
Why?
I just I think it's I was always a fan of Frenzy. I like perks that reward me for staying in combat. I like to try and I feel like when I play I like to try and like maximize on the opportunities that I'm given when I'm playing and the amount of space that I have. And whether that like managing my health and when I can engage. So a perk like that says that if I keep playing really effectively and like keep finding pockets even when I'm weak to like, you know, get even like a shot in, I'm going to get rewarded for it to keep doing it more effectively. So I like perks like Frenzy, and that perk is kind of like Frenzy, except it does two of my favorite things, AE, but more importantly than anything, less flinch. And I absolutely hate flinch.
Yep.
So anything that says less flinch goes on my gun.
All you got to do is play
love
the game.
that perk.
The dev
Play it
name
and
for
play
the
it
perk-
effectively.
Dev name for the perk was actually Flinch and AE Frenzy, right?
Yeah, it was so I was saying before, like that was one of the ones I worked on with our intern when we were doing like a tutorial on like how to make a perk basically. And like the easiest way to figure out how to make a perk is like, okay, think of a perk that activates the way you want your perk to activate. And then we'll go like find that little chunk. And then like think of 1 to 2 perks that have an effect that you want your perk to have the same effect. And we'll go find those 2. And then we'll like cut a part out of each one and like stitch them together and like make a new perk, right? And so like we took Frenzy's activator and no distractions flinch reduction and air assault's AE bonus, and we like combined all those things together and we got a new perk out of it, and that is perfect float. But yeah, the like Chris said, the not very not very subtle dev name was definitely just Flinch and AE Frenzy. So,
hey, real quick, Drew, are you talking out of the right microphone? Are you doing the one in front of you or the one on your head?
No, I'm doing the right one. So, yeah,
all right.
I won't spend time on this other than I fixed it.
Fair,
It should be better.
Fair enough.
1, 2, 3.
I mean,
I'm gonna have to.
I can never
go
get
with
enough Drew. But, yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with Encore, man. It gets 0 street cred, and you guys
I dig Encore.
reworked it, and it is better. And like how I view it is like essentially, and tell me if I'm way off, but like it's like a hybrid Killing Wind heating up. It didn't have accuracy before, correct? And you gave it accuracy now.
Actually, I think
it was
did
on the
have
stability
accuracy.
kill after getting stacks.
Really?
Yes. So
yeah.
the
body
max stack
shot.
is 32 stability, 20 range, and a 1.25% accuracy multiplier. Like I brought an igneous hammer, and it gets it to like 91 stability, 98 range at max stack. It's incredible. Can't be touched.
That was actually like a little small like passion project thing. Is like when I came to Bungie, I had like a list of perks that I had like talk shit about on the podcast beforehand, and I was like, man, if I ever get an opportunity, I'm gonna rebuild these perks, and that was one of them, and Headseeker was actually another one, and so like and Borealis actually was an exotic weapon that I really wanted to do that too on the fundamentals. So like I came in and like when I got some spare time, like made a point to like go in and figure out how those perks worked and then see if I could change them into a way that I thought made them like actually more useful. And I actually think I was pretty successful in those. Like Headseeker to me feels really good. Like to me, it feels almost like how Eye of the Storm does on hand cannons. So I really, really like that for dueling. And then Encore is just like straight up super strong. Like especially if you're landing like, you know, consecutive kills or back-to-back precisions, like the difference that it makes in the guns feels insane. But I feel like the opportunity cost is there too, because obviously you have to have multiple kills. So
we've got a fair amount of questions from people on Twitter regarding season 19 weapons and perks and all that junk. Every one of you has the document in front of you. If either of you would like to look for a choice question that inspires you, but in the meantime, I can just go through a couple that I think look fun. One of them, and if we don't get your name from Twitter, I apologize. It was a real labor of love putting this together. But know that if we asked your question, that I appreciate you. And I'm taking all the credit myself. What was the thought process for putting Desperado on a sidearm? And could we possibly see it come to new archetypes in the future?
Yeah, Desperado works really well on burst fire weapons. So the way it works is it reduces the what we would call the recovery delay, which is how long after pulling the trigger you can pull the trigger again. So if we were to put it on a hand cannon or something, it's way, way too strong. Like we've tried Desperado on a 120 hand cannon.
Really?
It fires faster than 140. It's ridiculous and you can't control it. And it's way too effective. But anyway, on burst fire weapons, it's fine. So we can easily put that on a sidearm and it doesn't break anything. It is pretty spicy though, so it makes sense to, like the first time we do that, put it on a weapon from an endgame source. So it would have been Dungeon Raid or Trials, and Dungeon got it this time. Yeah, it's totally reasonable to put it on a 3 burst or something as well. That would work fine.
Man, I would pay a lot of money to watch that test footage. You're like, what if we just put it on a hand cannon and then you just play a match and you're like, nope, no, that's not.
Season 23 comp reward.
Yeah, that playtest was pretty busted.
Another question from Twitter. What inspired the new perks like Target Lock and Close to Melee?
Yeah, I built Close to Melee, so I can talk about that one. For Glaive, for perks that buff Glaive melee damage, it's really, really dicey to just let them get whatever old like weapon damage perks. So we decided just not to allow that at all. But the goal was always that we would start making custom perks that do that. So Close to Melee gives you a pretty chunky melee damage buff when you get a projectile kill. And at the same time, we'd been experimenting with like perks that can refresh themselves, but we don't actually have to have them refresh under the same trigger conditions that it originally activates on, right? Like if you get Rampage and you want to extend the duration of Rampage, you have to get another kill. But for this one, we tried, what if you just deal damage with either a melee or a projectile? and just have that extended. So yeah, the idea is that you get a projectile kill and then you just go wail on things with the glaive melee, and it just never drops off. And I think we'll probably start to see more perks that are easier, like are hard to trigger initially, but are easier to extend. Merc, do you want to talk about, was that target lock?
Yeah, target lock was actually made by the intern who I mentioned earlier. Like that was his like perk that he designed and built entirely himself. And he kind of wanted to do something that was like, for PvE specifically, like almost like a neutral state trigger, kind of like Frenzy, right? Because in-game PvE, you're way less likely to be getting kill triggered stuff because the enemies are so tanky. So he really wanted something that was going to trigger based just off of dealing damage. And he really liked kind of the way Cold Heart worked, but obviously Cold Heart is an exotic, right? And it's only, it's only on that one weapon. So he basically took what Cold Heart had and applied it to like any full auto weapon. So like a trace rifle, SMG, auto rifle, anything like that. So you can get yourself like a nice neutral state damage buff in in-game PvE. And then for PvP, his goal, if I recall correctly, was that he wanted something that rewarded accuracy before the kill was secured, right? So like if you hit all of your shots, it will shave like one bullet off of your TTK on some of these guns and allow you to get a kill even slightly faster, right? Which is kind of a weird thing because normally we don't do like rich get richer perks like straight up like that. Like most of the stuff is like you get a kill and then your next kill is easier. But what he wanted to do was unique, which was during this kill, if you are accurate, you will get that kill faster than otherwise, right? So, and I think based on the reception and also based on my time spent playing with it, like the perk turned out super, super well. It feels really, really good. And again, it's like a fun mini game to be like, I want to hit all of my shots because I know if I hit all my shots, I'm going to get rewarded.
It's pretty clever.
It's one of those perks that requires a really high level of skill to get the most out of. And shout out to our intern, it's called Alex. Yeah, super smart guy. Like extremely good PvP player. Like could definitely hang in this group. And yeah, he kind of built a perk that he wanted to go and use on his own weapons in retail, which is like where all the best perks come from.
Nice. You can just imagine in the future that guy applying to a different job, top of the resume. I may have made target lock. You can ask me about it. Here's a question. I'm curious as to the philosophy of origin traits. Are there ways you can help define a perfect roll of a weapon, or a way to smooth out how the weapons feel stat-wise?
Yeah, there's a little bit of both of those. I think we started a little bit conservative when we introduced them. It was partly we had very limited, like what we call perk budget to work within, because there just isn't a lot of space on weapons to put new stuff. So there was that. But secondly, we wanted to keep their power in check a little bit until we saw how they worked overall. But as we start to bring up more of them, you're starting to see whole weapon pools that are built with the origin trait in mind. So, for example, a bunch of weapons from the Valve the Disciple raid are built to make it easier to get high values out of Soul Drinker, like things that let you multi-hit or get multi-kills, that kind of thing. Or like text balanced stock, that requires you to get 4 hits before the perk will trigger, which means that if you've got explosive payload, for example, on the Scout, it only requires 2 shots to proc because with explosive payload, it'll hit twice. Or if you have the grenade launcher and you hit the same target with both grenades, you're hitting 4 times because you're doing 2 impacts and 2 detonations, like that kind of thing. And we'll see more origin traits going forward where the perk pools assume the origin trait and are all built around enhancing that or benefiting from it in some way.
See, there's a follow-up question about origin traits. How is the team feeling now that the origin trait system has been out for almost a full year's of content? What has been the philosophy on creating each new origin trait for each season to ensure it doesn't push power creep?
Yeah, if I'm being completely honest, I think we have power crept a little bit on them over time. Like as we start to explore new things and want to differentiate the new origin traits from previous ones, inevitably they've gotten a little bit more powerful. Yeah. But yeah, we're super happy with how they've turned out and are actually seeing the goal achieved. Like we are seeing players look at 2 very similar weapons and say, I want this one because of the origin trait. Like you want the Suros hand cannon over the Omelon hand cannon, for example. Like exactly what we set out to do, which is fantastic. I think it's gotten us a little bit more space to keep introducing weapons to the game without having to worry about them being too similar, which is exciting.
It definitely does add like an extra layer of complexity, which is nice, you know?
Distinct feel, right? Like an Omelon Scout versus a Hockey Scout.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Merc, what have you got to say on this? Because you've built a few yourself.
I really like the origin traits, right? Because it's different when you're building a gun or a perk for a gun that has to like go into the wider pool and has to be used on a bunch of different things. The origin traits are fun because like you know from the beginning exactly like what type of guns and what stuff they're going to be used on, right? And like you can also theme it a lot differently, right? Like when you like Rampage doesn't really have a theme. You know, Rampage is just like do more damage. But when you're working with an origin trait, you can be like, okay, what's the source of this thing? Is it a foundry? Is it a raid? Is it a dungeon? Can I theme the origin trait in such a way that it is more useful in that activity or like thematically kind of makes sense with that activity, right? Like I built I actually don't know, Runneth Over is the King's Fall origin trait, right? And like the whole thought behind that was like I wanted it to be thematically like Cocoon, which is now obviously auto-loading holster, but Cocoon was like the raid perk from King's Fall in D1. So I wanted to have something to do with reloading, but like I really was trying to think like, okay, well, what are you always doing when you're in a raid, right? Like you're always playing with your friends, you're always nearby your allies. Okay, well, cool. Well, what if when you reload with Runneth Over, however many allies you have overflows your magazine? And like that's super cool for a raid because you always want to have more ammo and it's super thematic and like probably couldn't put that on like every single gun in the game because it might be a little bit too strong, but knowing that it was only going on the raid weapons, I was allowed to do something like that. And so to me, like, I think designing origin perks is like actually one of the more fun like types of perk design we get to do outside of probably exotics.
That's cool.
One other cool aspect to building origin traits, which is you know exactly for the weapon set that it's going to go on. So like particularly if it's for a raid or a dungeon or a season or whatever, it's like it has to work on these 6 weapons. It doesn't matter if it works on anything else. It can be totally busted if you put it on other weapons. We don't care. So it's simultaneously hard because you want to make something that's really thematic, but also easy because you don't have to test it on a whole bunch of use cases.
That makes sense. Unless there's any other questions from this, I feel like I'll ask one more before we move on to the next major topic, being the AE system. What are your favorite new perk combos possible this season that players may not have caught on to yet? If any at all. Very niche question.
One that I'm fond of, and like I've touched on this a little bit before, but the compulsive reloader and explosive payload on long arm. Explosive payload we already talked about. First of all, it's great on scouts, but secondly, it lets you get the origin trait up faster. But the way compulsive reloader is built and the way it interacts with single shot loads, so it speeds up your reload in the top half of the magazine, right? But if you've got an empty lever action scout rifle, you'll load half of the rounds, and then the second half will load super fast because the compulsive reloader perk kicks in. And that's just, I find that really entertaining.
Good call.
Actually, one of my favorite perk combos, or at least the one that I spent like a ton of time using in playtest, is Cascade Point on the Trials heavy machine gun, right? So I have auto-loading holster and Cascade Point on that. And actually for PvE, it's like super great because you're constantly triggering Cascade Point and you basically swap to the machine gun, just eviscerate like a yellow bar with a really fast rate of fire, put it back away, get another kill, swap back to it, it's fully reloaded, and just like continue cycling that process. And for PvP, I can't talk about it yet. So one day though.
You can't talk about it
specific.
For oh, I see.
What my favorite thing is for PvP. Yeah.
Keep your secret.
Future content, probably, right?
Future content.
Okay, fair.
Not that future, but
not
like
that future. Interesting. Okay. I'm only going to really quickly just follow up question because Chris mentioned payload. It's a question ahead in the miscellaneous Twitter questions. Is there any hidden accuracy benefit to the payload perks, as some people theorize? They feel sometimes it feels oddly easier to land shots with a weapon with payload on it. Is that just in my head?
Yeah, it's total placebo.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You hear that, Astrocross? It's in your head. Okay, we are going
Jump into the second.
Yeah. Cool guy. Do you want to ask any?
Yeah, I'll go.
We're all right. AE time.
Yeah, so we'll start off and then we'll just build, right? What would you say the overall goal of the AE system was when it was first drawn up, and would you say that goal was achieved? Why or why not?
You want to answer that one, Chris?
Getting into the tough questions. So initially we wanted to balance the increasing number of airborne movement options against their combat effectiveness. We don't actually want Destiny to shift towards an airborne dominant kind of gameplay, like where you spend the majority of your time in airborne engagements. But yeah, we mostly wanted to reduce the number of deaths you'll experience from airborne players who haven't deliberately invested in airborne gunplay. And the system did succeed at that, but ultimately the cost in player fun and sort of how the game feels when you're airborne was way too high. So we're actually going to be pulling that back a bit later.
I don't want anyone at home to think that we are deliberately not walking down that path of following up with, like, what are your plans? Because that is coming down the pipe. They will speak to that. So rest assured, we are not diverting from giving more information. But on the continued discussion about the AE system, let's see, more questions here. Can you walk us through what the overall thought process was in bringing the AE system to the original goal in the game?
As having started from the goal that we just went over, we looked at all of the ways that players currently had to manipulate their effectiveness while in air, either positively or negatively, and wanted to group all of those under a single system that we could just pipe everything through, and ended up deciding on a weapon stat, even though we knew that weapons and abilities and armor would all want to feed into it. A weapon stat still made the most sense. So we started from that. We figured out a bunch of what we would call like sandbox weapon stats, like the stuff that's underneath the investment stats that we wanted to drive off that one stat, which is stuff like airborne accuracy and magnetism cones, like shotgun spread angle and that kind of thing, and just hooked all of those up. Having done that, we decided what we wanted the minimum and maximum effectiveness to be, like at 0 AE and 100 AE, and then figured out what ranges we wanted each weapon type to be able to achieve. So like I don't remember the exact values actually. I don't have them up, but
71 and above is perfect accuracy.
There you go. Yeah. So we wanted it to be easier to achieve that on some weapons than on others, basically. So mostly primaries, it's much easier to get there. Special and heavy weapons, it's harder.
You would be shocked at the amount of times we got this question on Twitter. Some big, great conspiracy, apparently. Was the AE system conceived as a way to basically balance future Lightfall content, i.e. Strand? I think people see the grappling hook and they're like, oh, that's why they put in AE. It's because everyone and their mother is going to be grappling hooking around. So is there any truth to that at all?
Yeah, it's funny how quickly people latched onto that after the Lightfall reveal. Because yeah, that's absolutely true. Like we saw Strand coming, like I don't know, like 9 months ago or something, right? And knew that players were going to spend a lot more of their time airborne come Lightfall than they were earlier, and wanted to make sure that we had the proper levers in place to be able to balance that as needed. You don't want to ship that alongside Strand, because then who knows what will happen, right? Like it could be a huge mess. We want to have this system solid so that it would be ready to just drop Strand into, and everything would hopefully go a lot more smoothly. And like the way we're headed, I think it's going to be really solid by the time Lightfall hits.
Let's see here. What does the most balanced AE system look like in your opinion?
Me, where I'd want it to be balanced is so that high skilled players don't need to invest particularly heavily into AE. They can land their shots without a whole lot of assistance. And maybe they find it a little harder if they don't like put much effort into it, but they're not super affected by it. And then like players at lower medium skill, something like that, if they build into it, they'll find they become a lot more effective while airborne.
Fair. Drew, Cammy, I know I'm flapping my gums a lot here. If you have the outline here in front of you, any questions you want to slide in here with, just so I'm not.
No, I mean, feel free to take them all. I love having the devs on and just listening.
So do I. I just want to make sure no one's feeling left out here.
Yeah, not feeling left out.
Fair enough.
Not at all.
Are there any potential dangers that you're trying to avoid when crafting an AE system that the community is satisfied, or not satisfied with? What would those dangers be, and how are you trying to avoid them?
Yeah, I mean, I think we shipped it fairly conservative because one danger is you build this system, you want players to invest into it, and you're way too generous with sources for the stat off the bat, and everyone just has perfect AE right from day one. And then you might as well not bother at all, right? If everyone can just like get straight there right away. The flip side of that is if you ship a little bit too conservative with it, which I think we probably did, then it's hard for players to build into it, and they can't feel the effects of what it's like to really hit those high points. So yeah, one of those dangers we avoided and one we hit. Such is life.
Such is life. It's so interesting to me to see pre-Bungie Merc and post-Bungie Merc. Pre-Bungie Merc would have much to say right now. I feel as he just sits there handsomely looking into the webcam. I'm just playing around, buddy.
Shoulders covered up with modesty. Right?
And for the listeners at home, there is no tank top.
No tank top.
It's
my man is
business.
Truly reformed. Yeah.
Business professional.
As you can probably imagine, the both of you, there were a outstanding number of questions on Twitter regarding the AE system. So I'm just going to kind of dig in. If there's any particular question on the outline that calls to you, feel free to kind of raise a finger and say, I'd like to speak to that question, but I'll just go through. Is it possible to split AE off to just special heavy weapons and leave primaries completely unaffected?
I mean, it's certainly possible. Like we could do anything with it. We could zero it all out if we wanted to. But I think what we're doing in Lightfall, or what's currently in Lightfall, I should say, is basically that. When we get to talk a little bit about the details of that, I think that'll be more obvious. But I think there's an underlying assumption here that I agree with, which is airborne gameplay is much harder to tune for special and heavy weapons, particularly special weapons, since players have those at pretty high uptime. And for primary weapons, it's much less of an issue because like the one-hit kills from places that you couldn't reasonably see coming are a lot more of an issue than like someone shooting you from off screen, but you have a little bit of time to react because you don't insta die.
Is that why special weapons are harder to tune in the air, you feel?
Yeah. 100%.
Interesting.
And that's why, so we're doing a big pass over primary weapons, but we want to see how that lands before we do the same thing about special weapons, which I think is likely to happen somewhere a little bit further down the line.
Another question from Twitter. Why not just increase the aim assist and accuracy of grounded target when aiming at airborne targets? This would keep the high-end players happy and use the assistance tool already embedded in the game.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. With the aim assist system as it stands, there's no way to set that up. Is like the technical answer. Like we would need a bunch of engineering to detect whether the thing that you're aiming at is airborne or not, and then like scaling the targets on the on your victim higher when they're airborne or something like that. So it would be quite a lot of work, and I feel like we have pretty good tools to achieve the goals as it stands. But it's a pretty interesting idea. Like I appreciate the creative approaches to like alternatives for what you could do about airborne gameplay here.
Just going to keep going down the list from Twitter. In the original TWAB explaining AE, there was a section on subclass options being part of your build. So far, this seems extremely limited to Heat Rises, Ember of Tempering. Can we expect bonuses added to, say, Whisper of Hedrons or Echo of Domineering?
So firstly, you should probably look at Whisper of Hedrons because that recently got that. It does have an AE bonus when the Whisper of Hedrons perk is active. And yeah, there are more coming in Lightfall. Like there's at least a strand thing. Is there anything else that we can hint at there, Merc? I think you've dug into the airborne build crafting a bit more.
I mean, I have, but I don't think I'm at liberty to say any of it. I see the red dot dancing across my room, so.
Merc is too new
at least
to take heat. Yeah,
I can't throw myself on the pile like that. I can't sacrifice myself just yet.
That's fair. I will do it, I guess. Yeah, so there is definitely like strand subclass stuff coming that also lets you build more into AE. And I think post Lightfall, we're going to see revisiting some of the tuning on these because the subclass version of the like weapon armor subclass build for AE is probably a little bit undertuned as it stands. We're working like as a combined sandbox group. We're working on addressing that.
Promise to the listener, we're getting to the part where they're going to, potentially speak on the future of AE, but just maybe two more questions. Any plans to make mobility affect AE? Again, questions from Twitter.
Say plans. It's something that we've talked about though. The problem is that gives it intrinsically gives the class with the most vertical mobility intrinsically the best airborne effectiveness as well, which I think if we were to say disassociate class ability from those stats and put it somewhere else, that would be easy. Obviously mobility is a good place for that to live. I think as it stands, it's a bit dicey though.
I think that's fair. Is there a way for the AE system to only kick in when you're at a certain height, i.e. a half meter from the ground? Because at the moment when you're on the ground and hit a weird edge on a map, you all of a sudden feel the AE happen barely off the ground.
Yeah, that really, really sucks, and we are developing something to address it. What we're actually looking at is requiring you to be airborne for a certain amount of time before the game detects you as being airborne. So it's it'll be 0.2 seconds or something, so it won't ever trigger while you're walking down steps.
That's cool.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, another alternative would be instead of time, we do distance, but I think distance is a little bit trickier for players to grok.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
This would also have the benefit of I don't know if this has ever happened to you when you're playing a Nightfall or something, but you're running downstairs and an enemy's shooting you, and occasionally a shot will detect you as airborne and the grounded modifier is active and it just wrecks you.
Nuke you.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
It will also fix that. So.
Oh, wow. Freaking awesome. Okay, let's see. What can you share with us about coming changes to the AE system?
Let me see. I'm going to translate a giant pile of numbers into hopefully something that won't get me in trouble.
we don't want that.
We do have in our outline, as broad goals, possible specifics, possible concerns. Don't want y'all getting in trouble.
Yeah,
Merc,
that's true.
Get down, Merc. Down.
Duck and then answer.
Yeah, let me take a crack at it.
Sure.
So firstly, we talked a little bit about goals earlier, and I think one thing that's implied there is that the lack of skill-based matchmaking in the game when we introduced this system, only one mode, 2 modes or something out of a large number, had any sort of skill-based matchmaking. Without skill-based matchmaking, it's more of a problem if high-skilled players and low-skilled players are in the same lobbies. But now that that is much less common and we're rolling out skill-based matchmaking more widely, that massively reduces our concerns about that. So it does let us really loosen up how easy it is to build into AE and how the AE system itself is tuned, like from 0 to 100. Anyway, so currently we have all this stuff checked in, and we're testing it in Lightfall right now. And it's for sure, like, we're definitely shipping it at the latest in Lightfall. It's possible that we will be confident enough in it after a bunch of playtesting that we will bring it earlier, like the balance update in the middle of Season 19 or something like that.
Sure.
So in the event that we don't have concerns about it after a bunch of playtesting, it's likely we'll do that. I'm not promising anything. Don't hurt me. Anyway, so in Lightfall right now, all primary weapons, without investing into AE at all, so whatever the baseline AE is for the weapon, so like 10 to 20 for a hand cannon or whatever, will be as accurate as they were pre-AE with Icarus grip. So, pretend you were like a year ago and you had a hand cannon with Icarus and your shots were going where you put them. Like, that's where all primary weapons will be as of Lightfall. That's only part of the equation though. Recently, Cool Guys, School, right, famously pointed out the difference between accuracy and aim assist, and why players are looking at one a bit more than they should be. So yeah, shots going straight is only one part of it. The other part is a lot of Destiny game feel is tied up into the aim assist system, and when we scale that down, the game starts feeling worse, and players can't necessarily identify why that is. But it's not something we're particularly fond of. So we're also going to reduce the auto aim penalties, which is like what community might call bullet bending, where it corrects your bullets towards a target. Be effectively halving those, or slightly more than halving those, which will be particularly noticeable at low AE. And for magnetism, which is what you would call radical friction, which is only on controller,
right?
We're removing those penalties completely, and at high AE, so 60 and above, we're actually giving you a magnetism bonus. So your weapons will be stickier while airborne than they would have been before AE. The other thing is the precision aim cone. So we're a little bit more cautious about precision aim cone, because that's what lets you get aim assist for crits while airborne, and that's like a little bit more dicey. So we are increasing the maximum precision aim cone you can get to by about 50%, but we're also putting it on an exponential curve. So the more you build into it, the more benefits you get more directly. But if you're still at low to mid AE, you won't get very much assistance with it. So your shots will go straight. You'll have a decent amount of AE, but without really building into it, you'll be getting mostly body shots. For special weapons, we're sort of roughly halving the airborne accuracy penalties for slug shotguns and sniper rifles, and we're removing the accuracy penalties from pellet shotguns completely. To be clear, this is still, like, you can pretty easily get to Icarus, like pre-AE Icarus levels of accuracy with sniper rifles and shotguns. But even with Icarus, you won't have a landing super long range snipes, or like there was 60% chance you'd miss or whatever, depending on the distance. This makes a pretty big difference for slug shotguns there. What else have we got? So for pellet shotguns, we felt like the spread angle penalty that you get while airborne is plenty, and we didn't additionally need the accuracy thing. This is actually something that Merc pointed out a while ago, but the fixed spreads are great, and having your reticles show exactly what the spread is going to be is great, but it also really drives home any accuracy, like any inaccuracy of the spread when you're airborne, because you've got your reticle right there and the pellet goes somewhere else. I mean, the spread goes somewhere else. So yeah, it makes a lot more sense to lean more on the spread angle and less on the accuracy.
We also have those, which you mentioned it well before, but like the dynamic spread reticles now in 700. So your shotgun, when you slide or when you jump or anything that affects your spread angle, the reticle itself in hipfire will actually match the spread angle that it changes to. So you can actually tell like how much your spread is being affected when you do any of these things. So you can know how much closer you need to be to a target if your spread is blown out to like secure that kill.
It's pretty sweet, man.
Damn it, cool guy. My strategy,
Yes,
my strategy was to not talk at all, so that they would feel compelled to keep talking through the silence.
Classic.
I'm just kidding. Cool guy, go ahead.
No, so it's a it's pretty complex. I talked about it not too long ago, and just going through those numbers, the quarters, right, 0 to 30, and then all the way up 71 to 100, to where you get that good accuracy. And the system, like especially when you get high AE, when you jump, the accuracy is 1-to-1. It doesn't move. Whereas before, it would never do that. The only way you could do that was with like Heat Rise's Warlock. And you guys said that you kind of you ease out the system. What was the word? Kind of not as hot, right? You wanted people to build into it. So you started with some lower stats, but once you do get up there, the airborne technically is better than it was before. At least that's what I saw with the stuff I was testing. So if you're going to do all that, it's going to be a pretty big change to what we have, opposed to what we had a year ago. So
there's really like in live before, right? Like if you think of what we had pre-AE and you compare it to where we're at now, like before Forsaken, there was only bad in air. Like that was it. That was what you had, right? You jumped in the air, you got your penalties, you really couldn't hit much of anything unless you were spamming stuff. Then in Forsaken, Icarus Grip was added and Heat Rises was added, right? And we ended up with 3 tiers of in-air performance, right? And Icarus was a huge like benefit for a very, very low cost, right? And what it did is it functionally introduced like an equipment skill gap, basically, where like someone who had Icarus on was way more effective than someone who had the same amount of like accuracy in terms of like how good they were at hitting a target in the air, just from like popping on that one little tiny mod, which was relatively low cost. And then Heat Rises was like a whole different ball game where it was like way down the thing. So kind of one of the ways that I was looking at the curve when we were talking about it was like, okay, well, it would be cool if like more than just Heat Rises Warlocks could get access to that same level of accuracy at the upper end, right? Like Warlocks can do it easier, but other people can also have access to that too. And it would be cool if like we closed the gap between what the base in-air accuracy and what Icarus provided was, right? So like there wasn't this huge gap in between someone who has Icarus equipped and someone who doesn't have Icarus equipped, right? And like those are kind of ways where I started to like line up the accuracy curves on stuff, right? And like Chris said, and like you point out, like we shipped it super conservative because that's the type of thing that like you can't take it back once you've given it out. And the potential downside of shipping it like too hot would have been like catastrophic, right? So we erred on the side of being conservative, knowing that we were going to continue to work on it, knowing that we were going to add more ways to engage with the system, right? Like knowing we were going to do more. And I truly believe, like from having play tested the system, from having used this system, that like the system that we are moving to in Lightfall or potentially sooner is legitimately better than what we had pre-AE. And I know people jumped on me on Twitter being like, yeah, we're going to keep working on it because like I think we can make it better. But legitimately, if we were to go back to the pre-AE system after this, like I feel like it would be a huge regression across the board for in-air gameplay, right? So, I wish we could have done it faster, obviously, but like I really do enjoy this system, and I think it frees me up as a player to like make choices about how I want to engage in air. And it's like pretty cool as a hunter to be able to get the same access to like Heat Rises level experience as like a Warlock could, right? And I have to try a lot harder, but it's still pretty cool to be able to hit that because prior to that, there was just no way.
That's fair. That's a lot of information to take in, I'll be honest. But it seems like you're feeling good about it. Any closing thoughts on the potential, on the changes coming to the new AE system?
I mean, I'm pretty stoked about the special weapon changes, honestly. Like shotguns losing the accuracy penalty, but slug shotguns and snipers in particular, like functionally the way they're going to work as far as accuracy goes is a lot closer to how primary weapons are working right now in live. So like when you hit around 30, you've got, Icarus level accuracy. When you hit 60 to 70, it's not quite 100% grounded, but it's like closing in on the lower end of grounded accuracy, which is pretty good. And like they're functional and like, based on my experience, and like I'm obviously able to like actually see the cones in game with like a debug and stuff, right? So like I can actually see where the bullet's going to go. Like I think people who are like people who have their aim on point will be able to much more easily get their special weapons to a level where like they can use them effectively too. And if your aim isn't quite so good, then it's going to be a little bit harder because you're going to need some more of the aim assist, right? But like there shouldn't be, you know, this really jarring transition now between like, oh, I'm on the ground and now I'm in the air and my gun feels entirely different. Like that super jarring transition should basically be like mostly gone, right? Like a lot of that was the auto aim and the magnetism stuff, and us walking that back out has made it much smoother to go from grounded gameplay to airborne gameplay and back to grounded gameplay without feeling like your gun just goes wild the second your feet leave the ground. So,
and just like a little bit on the flip side, we did have like goals for AE initially, which we talked over, and having seen the game in retail for like just over 2 seasons and a bunch of internal playtesting, we think that with these changes we're still hitting those goals, largely because it's still going to be difficult to hit the airborne crits. Like you'll fairly easily, like you'll much more easily get body shots, but if you're not aiming at the head, you'll typically not get the headshot unless you're really built into AE. I'm actually interested in this group's thoughts on how that's likely to feel.
So I wanted to clarify. So Stompies, as an example, pretty much you're almost always going to be at 0, well, at least with what we have right now. So post these kind of changes, like how do you expect that to feel for players? Is that just going to result mainly in like, what does 0 AE look like? Is it like, okay, I'm more accurate than I am now, but I'm mainly hitting body shots? Unless like, I'm like 1000% on the head. Is that like the idea? That's kind of the vibe I got from it, but I don't know.
Yeah,
sure.
that's the goal. I think like Stompies will typically, as it stands, put you below your starting AE with the weapon, which means you won't quite be at Icarus, but you'll certainly be a lot more accurate than you are now. So if you're doing like typical Stompies things and you're engaging largely at close to medium range, you should be hitting a lot more of your shots for sure.
Cool.
Very cool. Just really, really going through our podcast outline with a fine-tooth comb here to make sure there is no stone unturned regarding what we wanted to talk about with AE.
Off the rails a little bit.
Oh God.
Again, I guess the few questions that I thought of is like, was there any, so I know that there's something in the game currently like regarding like your ability jump and how that might affect accuracy. Was there any like thought into like separating that further or not? Or like, as an example, like right now when you 100 jump, I believe your accuracy actually gets a little worse. And then in some of the crosshairs, you can see reflected where it gets better as you descend. I was just curious on like what the philosophy is with that in relation to the AE system, if you can speak to that.
Yeah, we've actually talked a bit about this, like just as a whole sandbox design group. So it's possible that if we feel like we need more finesse over the types of airborne that it like give you different types of penalties, we might consider like what an unpowered jump does, like versus a like a fully powered, like a triple jump or like a warlock float or whatever. And I can imagine saying, yeah, actually the powered jumps are penalized more heavily or something like that. It's not something that we've discussed to the point where we have a plan of action. But yeah, it's for sure something that's been discussed a bunch.
I mean, now that you mention it, I've never used high jump on Titan. Or the high lift, whatever it is. So if it could get an AE bonus or something in the future, maybe I'd use it.
Interesting.
I think that was pretty productive.
I appreciate you guys sharing that with us.
Yeah.
You guys didn't ask
listening,
about the exotic heavy weapon or exotic heavy sniper AE.
All right, what?
You didn't ask about.
Well, I wanted to make sure. I mean, hey man, if you want to talk on that, I would love to ask you about it. But I wanted to make sure we had time to talk about all the juicy upcoming changes
I think those were the juiciest changes. No.
Like that hot
I mean-
80 Whisper of the Worm.
So, I mean, what we said in the 12 was true, right? Like, we didn't really see any reason for like the heavy snipers to be suffering from inaccuracy in the air, right? Because like they're heavy snipers. So we just massively jumped those things up, and like it wasn't supposed to be a buff like, oh my god, like this is gonna make Whisper meta, right? Like obviously we said in the 12 we have a heavy weapon bounce pass coming in Lightfall. So like this was mostly just supposed to be like a quality of life thing. And like honestly, we had talked about beforehand, like we weren't even gonna put the notes in the 12 at all. Like we were just gonna make those changes, and then people who use them would be like, oh, this is kind of nice. And like maybe someone would do some like trick shots or something in PvP with it, and it would just be funny. But like then when we were doing the TWAB copy, like we just kind of missed editing those things out, and they went out. And as soon as they went out, I was like, oh god. I was like, this is all anyone's gonna talk about. I was guaranteed it. And sure enough, that was a lot. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't supposed to be like, you know, this is the hot shit. Like it was just supposed to be like a quality of life thing for those guns, you know, to prep them for, you know.
Oh man,
we just
changes we're
proved
making.
definitively that if you explain the joke, it ruins it.
Yeah.
Well.
So should have just never said anything about it, and someone could have just made themselves a little montage.
Next TWAB, you have to put like increased aerial effectiveness of swords or something there.
Yeah. We'll start sneaking that line in just once per TWAB.
Love it. I think we got everything under the AE umbrella that we had on the outline here. Good work, y'all. Damn, I feel good about that. Is it time for you to potentially tease us about a particular exotic? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even entirely sure like what specifically I'm allowed to say. I mean, I know that there's a bunch of stuff in like light in the API already about it, but I know that we've talked a little bit about it. At least you've seen it, right? You've seen it in the trailer, and you've seen a picture of it on the Bungie website, right? And like, you know, there's multiple catalysts and stuff, but yeah, like obviously I did Touch of Malice in the previous season, and that was like my first foray into doing an exotic, but it was a reprise. So like Touch of Malice had already existed, right? So like I really just had to make the change to it to make it shoot the Taken Captain balls. But this was the first time that like I designed an exotic entirely from scratch. Like I got to build it from the ground up, and I got to be like, this is the fantasy that I want for this gun. And I mean, I'm obviously biased, but like this is the gun I'm most excited to use this season in PvP and in PvE. And like, I think it turned out just super, super well. I had like a laundry list of really cool things that I wanted to do. And by the freaking grace of the Traveler, they were just like, yeah, okay, like let's do all that stuff. And I just like put everything into this gun, just like a wish list, right? I'm calling it like a test bed, right? Like I did a bunch of really cool stuff to it that hasn't really been done before on an exotic. And then the hard surface artist and the VFX artist and the audio people came through and just like freaking nailed it, man. And like the gun is super, super cool to use. It's super cool to play with. Like the exotic perk, like it's a transformer, dude. And like I think it's the most customizable exotic that we've ever made. Like that, I think that's probably a safe tease. Like I think it learned a lot from like Hawkmoon and DMT and Striga, and like I think it is the most customizable, like, you know, make it your own style exotic we've ever had. So,
and man, our artists are wizards. Like I kind of still can't believe that that scope flip thing just looks so natural. It's so cool.
I was showing them like the actual, you know, in real life versions of those scopes where the scopes like flip up, and I was like, this is what I wanted to do. And they're like, oh, well, we've never really done something like that. Give me like give me a couple days. I'll like whip up a mock-up, and like the first mock-up just like nailed it. I was like, oh, well, like there you go. I was like, you just freaking killed it. So yeah, it's sick.
I don't want to just completely cut. I'm like, Merc, I just want you to know that I'm really proud of you. Like,
oh, I appreciate that, man.
Dude, like how far you've come. Like I remember when we hung out at like one of the first Guardian cons years ago.
2016.
Dude, like so long ago, and like you came up to me and was like, "Hey, Fallout, man, good to meet you." And like you had your binder. Remember when you went to Guardian Con with a binder of all the printed
Spreadsheets,
printed Excel spreadsheets with all weapon number data on it. And now my man, not only are you working at Bungie, good job, but like just hearing you describe like your first from scratch exotic, I'm really proud of you. This gun better fuck, bro. All right.
No pressure, right? Like, no pressure. But No, it's awesome. Like, who wouldn't want to like work on the game that they spend a ton of time playing, right? Like, I have like what 3,000 hours in Destiny 2, and like I've put hundreds of hours of my life into podcasts and spreadsheets and articles and stuff, and then to be given the opportunity to like build a gun with all the ideas that I've had for years and years and years. And I talk so much shit on Reddit about like, oh, if I worked at Bungie, I could do this. Right? Basically they like sat me down in front of the, the engine. They're like, all right, well, time to put your, your money where your mouth is. There like you said, you could do all these things. Let's see if you can knock them out. So it's awesome.
So what can
every weapons designer comes to Bungie with one exotic and one legendary perk that they were born to make.
Sure. For sure. What can you tell us about it that you won't get in trouble for?
It has origin perks.
Okay.
Wait, on an exotic? That's new.
Yeah.
It has 2 custom build origin perks that I made for it. It's like if a choose your own adventure game was an exotic, right?
I love those.
And it is linked to a foundry. And that's probably all that I can say.
What are you not allowed to tell us?
A lot more. Yeah. No, I'm really excited for the 20th. Like
it sounds pretty sweet, man.
It does sound great. Yeah. Now technically, I wrote this in the outline, and no one said that I couldn't ask this question. All right, nobody told me I couldn't ask this, so I'm going to ask it because it's in the outline. Would you say it has a specific role in the sandbox for PvP or PvE?
You can say both.
No, you can't. Don't give him an answer.
The role in the sandbox for PvP was I wanted to build the weapon that I would want to use most in PvP, right? And I told you I love minigames, so it's got a minigame in it. And I needed something that would be able to compete with the 2 super stacked power crept hand cannons that we introduced in this expansion, right? So like we put Rose and Exalted Truth in there, and those are probably the 2 best hand cannons we've ever made, like legendary wise for PvP. So like I wanted something that would be able to compete with those, not outclass them obviously, but like at least be able to go toe to toe. And then for PvE, I wanted it to compete with Arbalest. So
that is a high bar for both.
Yes.
Do you think you've hit that bar?
Based on my experience in playtest, in my hands, yeah, which is hard because like I have more time on the gun than on Earth does. So like, but I think it feels super, super good, and I feel like it's really, really strong. PvE, I don't know. That is a high bar, like you said. I tried.
High, yeah.
I tried, but you can choose one goal and put everything towards it, and then try to hit as can. And like I definitely focused more heavily on like the PvP side of it.
All right.
But it's got one really good catalyst for PvE though. So
I feel like if I ask you any more, DMG will break through the window right to your right.
Yeah, he's actually standing like behind me with like a knife and
off
he's just like
screen
licking the blade right now. So yeah.
Right? He's just like
damn. Oh man, I wish I could ask you more. Oh well. I mean, it's coming soon, right? I probably can't ask that either.
It's the 20th, right? It's like a week away. So
all right.
hype.
I'm excited, man. That's a lot of build up right there. Good stuff. Shall we dive into the random questions from Twitter that really didn't fit into a particular umbrella?
Yeah, let's do it.
Great. All right, boys, do you have any questions from this list that speak to you? I know we all have.
Yeah, I saw this one. It's actually a really good question. Are there plans for more damage-based void perks to keep up with Volt Shot and Incandescent? Because we have volatile rounds, and we just pushed that on the Gerfalcon, which is pretty sweet. But anything in mind for void? Are we keeping Repulsor Brace?
Yes and yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes and yes. Short and sweet. Here's one. The pellet spread changes and per archetype reticle change to shotguns feel really good and well thought out. They really do, by the way. very, very fun. Matador goes deep right now. Really enjoying the Matador. Any plans to maybe do the same to different types of fusion rifles?
Yeah, so we don't have this tied to a specific release yet, but we're working on a feature that lets us give all weapons deterministic recoil. So you fire an auto rifle and it would recoil in a particular way each time, not just like in a fixed direction, but like a random looking but like predictable pattern. And I saw the question was about fusion rifles, but like this would be potentially for everything. We just have to figure out the details. I wouldn't expect that until like sometime after Lightfall, though. It's a pretty hefty change to like 90% of the weapons in the game. But yeah, it's for sure something that we're looking at and that we're planning to ship at some point.
Again, this is in the outline. It was not. No one told me that I can't ask this question, so I'm going to ask it. Any way we can get Hawkmoon and DMT craftable with new perks?
Yes.
Oh,
okay, I'll elaborate a little bit on that one. I don't need to be quite so mysterious. So it's probably pretty obvious, but like Hawkmoon was the prototype for weapon crafting in a pretty serious way. Like we'd always wanted you to be able to customize your exotic weapons. We didn't have a great way to do it before crafting entered the game. So what we had back in season 12 was random rolls. So we put that on Hawkmoon. We put a bunch of cool hand cannon options in there. And then we did the same thing with Dead Man's Tale, and then we stopped because we figured we got the information we needed. And it felt weird having random rolled exotics, but we think customizable exotics like are totally appropriate for specific types of weapons. And yeah, I could for sure. I'm slightly more excited about doing it for Dead Man's Tale, just because Hawkmoon has that RNG kind of as part of its identity. But I don't know, maybe we just have to learn to let that go. In any case, yeah, at some point we expect Hawkmoon and Dead Man's Tale to be craftable.
Why don't you
Not
just
promising a timeline?
I mean, you've already given plenty, but that's pretty great. What if you just tie the RNG to every now and then when you shoot the Hawkmoon, it makes the caw noise, but no extra damage, just a caw.
He wants to just terrify people in PvP for no reason.
Oh, why not? Yeah.
I have a question. Can we talk about Cloud Strike for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime.
The Catalyst decision for triple tap and plus 25 handling, like it is perfect. It helps PvE, helps the Crucible, and it looks like, from what I saw, like it's a contender as a special weapon now, like in-game DPS. Really, really good.
There a question in there.
Yeah. So the design, like, what made you go with that?
Yeah. So
We have Stormbringer.
you have Stormbringer. Yeah, like that's the main thing, right? Like this is a weapon that's entirely built around rewarding precision. But we don't need to reward Cloud Strike's precision anymore in PvP. It's already a monster. Like its usage reflects that. You come up against a good Cloud Strike user, you should be properly scared, and it changes how you play the game. So we actually didn't want to give it much of a PvP buff. Like we felt internally like, yeah, it's a little bit sluggish. We don't actually give it quick draw or snapshot or something, but like a bump to its handling is totally safe. And then you have to land 3 shots to proc the storm. Hey, triple tap takes 3 shots. And so you can now like get triple tap on it and get 1 extra storm out of a full magazine. Like that's it all lined up really nicely. Pretty happy with how that turned out. And yeah, as you point out, like between getting the catalyst and it now working correctly with Divinity, it's actually a contender for like special ammo at endgame DPS.
Right when I read that in the TWAB that Cloud Strike was getting that catalyst, I had my phone, I was like texting Cool Guy. I was like, "You're reading this shit, bro."
We're doing the dungeon. Cage him up.
Let's see. Again, question from the outline. No one told me I can't ask this, so I'm going to ask it. Can we get any info on any exotics getting catalysts or reworks for Lightfall? Take your time on that one.
Yeah, so DMG had the question list. He had his chance to veto this question. He chose not to. Can't fire me. Yeah, so we're doing a big pass on subclass 3.0 verbs on exotic weapons. So there's a whole bunch of changes. Most of them are of that type, though. I'm actually just gonna drop some names. Queenbreaker, Ruinous Effigy, Leviathan's Breath, 1000 Voices, Sunshot, Polaris Lance, Two-Tailed Fox, Prometheus Lens. And there are a couple of others that we're going to sit on for now. Those are actually the major, like the exotics that we're touching in kind of a major way. And then there's a handful of other things that we're doing as well.
Fun.
Catalysts.
Oh.
I think we'll just keep the catalyst to ourselves for the moment.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I think that's totally fair. Man, we are making shockingly good time considering how much we had to talk about.
I'm scared to speak because but I hope it's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying I'm scared to speak
Because your microphone.
anyways.
Yeah, you're good, buddy.
Am I good? Okay. I'm so sorry. I was actually curious to hear your thoughts, both of you, maybe on the current state of like weapon balancing. I mean, we have the competitive playlist now. Is there anything that stands out at you? I feel like it's been a while since like obviously we had the shotgun pellet change. We've had some pretty big changes, shotgun pellet changes, the DMT changes, and I think I've been noticing a lot of DMT on like PC. Even I think the close range weapons like SMG's got a lot of changes, sidearms, a lot of back and forth changes. Like, what's your overall sentiment, or like things that stand out at you, or how do you feel about current weapon balancing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, go ahead, Buck.
It's pretty good. I spend a lot of time, like obviously I play a lot of PvP, and also I spend a lot of time like looking at the analytics and internally, right? And we have stuff like usage and effectiveness and all these things that we look at. And like I would say that it's pretty good right now. I think shotguns got a much needed buff with the fixed pellet spread changes. I think they're going to get another one come 700. That's probably going to put them in a pretty good spot. Kind of been languishing a little bit since we reduced the range, which I feel like was necessary because they were choking out pretty much everything else at close range. But I think the consistency is going to be like a big key to them like feeling good to use, even if they don't quite hit at like the 10-meter kills that people were used to with Felwinters and stuff. I think SMGs are in a pretty good space. Shira is still a little hot, but like it's not massively concerning right now. Got an eye on Teraba. Obviously, always have an eye on Teraba. But sidearms are the buff was a lot. Yeah, the buff was definitely a lot. Like we wanted it to be enough that like especially on mouse and keyboard they would start to feel good to use, right? Like that's been a problem for a long time. They just haven't felt great on mouse and keyboard. And so we wanted to step them up enough to like you could feel the difference on mouse and keyboard and they felt good. I think we're probably going to walk that back just a little bit because they are kind of crowding SMGs at this point in time. People say they're crowding hand cannons. With the exception of Drang, they're not really crowding hand cannons. Like there's a good 10-meter like window that hand cannons have over them unless you're talking 180s. Hand cannons, Rose has helped a lot with hand cannons, right? Like they're both way more effective and way more used now that Rose is like giving everybody stacked rolls every single time they play a comp playlist, which is pretty good. I think the controller meta is probably a little bit more balanced right now than the mouse and keyboard one is. I think DMT is really, really strong on mouse and keyboard. I think No Time to Explain is still really strong on mouse and keyboard. So we're definitely going to look at that type of stuff, and we're going to have to see if we can figure out a way to address the outliers there without like hurting their performance on controller, because neither one of them is really like a super strong outlier on controller. Trying to think what else. LFRs have come down.
Jump in there. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a whole heavy weapon balance pass. For like specifically for PvE stuff. Last note on PvP though, Revoker's time has come.
Wow, that's
let's go.
Okay. Am I allowed? Am I legally allowed to? Oh no, you're talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean we're just going to like the only thing that it's really got going for it is reversal of fortune, right? So we're just going to make that perk pay out a lot less. So it'll still have a unique thing, but it can't possibly be the monster that it was. And that's, I think, so I'd just like to give a little bit of insight into how we do mid-season balance stuff. Paradoxically, when we're doing like massive game-breaking changes, like changing how AE works or like rebalancing all of the weapon archetypes, that stuff is really cheap and risky and non-risky to bring into a mid-season thing. But anytime we want to touch a bunch of little individual weapons, that is really hard and expensive just because of how the data is set up. But I think that the Revoker change is one that we would likely bring forward at the same time.
I will point out that DMG in the live chat did say, Proctor, go ahead and tell them. That was a direct quote from DMG.
Oh, there we go. Easy. What was he talking about? Just whatever?
I don't know.
I think he means just the whole light bulb weapons balance patch.
Oh, well. I just screen share.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's talking about Revoker stuff.
We have some good stuff coming in Lightfall, right? Like there's some underused stuff that's coming up a little bit. There's some stuff that people have been, complaining about for a while that's kind of slipped under the radar that we're just going to preemptively tap down just a tiny amount, right? So it's like not.
He did say Revoker.
He's saying Revoker.
Sorry to interrupt. He did say Revoker.
That's why I didn't say the actual specifics of any of the other stuff that we're going to.
I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
He's freaking out.
But we've done a lot of play testing on a lot of this stuff, and like we feel like it's pretty safe to move in. So yeah. I mean, I think weapon balance is pretty good. I'd be interested, obviously, to hear y'all's thoughts, and I'm sure chat has many thoughts about how weapon balance is doing right now.
Sure.
But like, I'm not super unhappy with where a lot of stuff sits. I think auto rifles actually came up a lot. Like, I think auto rifles are pretty heavily slept on right now in terms of effectiveness. Like, they're always going to lag a little bit behind because they can't peak shoot at a high level. But like, especially with a perk like target lock, which makes them like more lethal. Precision's 450s are like real good right now. So that's kind of interesting. Trace rifles still not where I want to. They feel better to use now for sure, but like for a special weapon, I feel like they're kind of lagging pretty far behind. So I might investigate token trace rifles a little bit more.
Fair.
They kill super fast when you actually hit all your shots on target. Like they just evaporate things. I've seen some cool guys' videos, so it's like it's like, and I've used it myself. I love Ruinous Effigy. So
if you can cold heart a second person on the same beam,
that'd be
you
hot.
nuke 'em. It's like 30 something to the crit.
Yeah.
So on those sidearms, Merc, they feel a lot better for M and K. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was in a patch note. Like, sidearms are the only weapons previously that didn't have any aim assist help past fall off.
Yeah, they actually, that's not entirely, like the fall off, their aim assist fall off began before damage fall off, right? So they may have still had, small amounts of aim assist vestigial basically. But yeah, they just many moons ago, I guess, before I got there, the decision was made that like sidearms would have like really aggressive auto aim fall off. Which is bullet bending, as Chris mentioned earlier, like way more aggressive than any other primary weapon that existed, right? And so all we really did was we just brought them up to match other primary weapons. Like we didn't even buff aim assist past where damage fall off began. We just matched it to where damage fall off begins, and that proved to be like a huge difference maker, especially on stuff that's already like pretty rangy, like Drang. So
I don't want to get us too far off the tangent of Revoker.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
It's like I'm still on the edge of my seat here and that.
For real. I
can just drop what the actual change is, since
he gave the word.
DMG is apparently totally fine with that.
He gave the word.
Yeah, but so the trait that it has is reversal of fortune, where when you miss a shot, it's returned to your magazine after a few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
The perk is changing to be you have to miss 2 shots within 6 seconds, and then 1 round is returned.
2 shots within 6 seconds.
Sick. That's incredible.
It's better than what we have now.
I always dreamt I'd see it in the power slot, just unchanged, but that's also good.
Yeah, actually, just talking about power slot, like I've seen some comments about Dead Messenger, and we are like giving that a pretty hefty PvP only nerf. Because we're starting to see that surge a bit, and it's pretty oppressive to play against. And I just saw some people mentioning that Whisper of the Worm doesn't feel competitive. I just want to say, like, damage-wise, it's already like right at the top. Like, it's hard to use, and it's not far enough above the rest, you should see what happens to it when LFRs come down a bit.
Fair.
I feel like Cam had a question about power weapon snipers, and this is, again, feel free to shut it down. Would you ever do like legendary shotgun snipers in the power slot? I mean, like, obviously it's a possibility, but like,
Yeah,
thoughts on it?
I do see that question a fair bit, but yeah, only exotics break the ammo type rules for slots, and that's certainly something that we're sticking to for now. Like, it would actually be cool to have like we have a longbow as a legendary power bow archetype or special ammo archetype or something, but yeah, we reserve breaking ammo rules for exotics.
I do want to jump in here and give a quick reminder that, if it were up to everyone, we would have Merc and Chris here literally all night gabbing their ear off about everything that we want. We do want to be sure that we are being respectful of everyone's time, because they were so generous to agree to come on our show and talk for a certain duration of time. So we're coming to the end here. And I think we got a lot of great stuff covered, but I do want to check before maybe we wind things down. Was there anything that you really were kind of hoping we might ask you, or something that you were hoping that you would maybe get a chance to talk about or elaborate on that maybe you did not get to?
There are a couple of questions that were in the list that I think we could just quickly blast through.
Go ahead.
Will osmosis work with Strand? Yes, and so will elemental capacitor, and Strand's thing is kind of AE, just to tease that a bit. Why was full auto trigger system not removed from Prospector when all of the other exotics that had it as a trait had it removed? The exotic trait for Prospector relies on it being full auto, because it spits out a bunch of projectiles and then you release the trigger to detonate. I think we could revisit that, but it would mean redesigning the exotic, which we didn't want to do at the time.
And it did get a perk. It got chain reaction, right? We put chain reaction into the intrinsic instead of replacing like the actual node on the gun. So it did get stat swapped out like the other exotics did. We just didn't actually pull the perk node off of it.
Yeah. How do you guys decide which weapons should be craftable or not? Typically, weapons that are in the that are seasonal weapons are completely fair game. We tend not to do end game weapon sources as craftable, with the exception of raids. So we don't intend to have craftable trials or dungeon weapons. The menagerie things were kind of a special case because they were split across the two sources. We didn't want to break up the set by along crafting lines. But we've hinted a little bit at like what's going to happen to adept raid weapons. Like they will get some sort of access to enhanced traits, and we might start rolling that out across more widely across endgame weapons as well. The last one, which I could just hit quickly, was just a fun one. How would an international student or graduate go about applying for Bungie jobs, and what has been your experience as an Australian working in the US? For games jobs generally, if you're a games student of any kind, I would highly recommend that you work on projects outside of your schoolwork, because any recruiter, any hiring manager will look at you compared to other applicants, and the people who have clearly the most passion for game development are the ones who will get further. So we look at personal projects and stuff a lot. The other thing is, like, specifically for international students, this really sucks, but you kind of have to have a four-year degree, because most countries won't give you a work visa unless you do. So that's a bummer. Australian working in the US, this is a really, really weird country after Australia. I don't know what else to say.
Vouch.
There's a whole bunch of stuff here which is just
we don't
totally
disagree.
alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I won't go into details. It gets pretty political. All right, that's all I had, I think. From
Fair enough.
Was there
We
anything
got
else you wanted
Twinkies.
to hit, Merc? Yeah, Twinkies are good.
No, I think we pretty much covered all of it.
We did.
Let's talk about weapon balance and AE and the new exotic and stuff. So I feel like we actually, we made good time.
We did make good time. Did you want to do that quick thing, Chris? The guess the name of the, what was it? Guess the name of the gun?
Oh yeah, the dev name, shipping name.
The dev
game?
name, shipping name game. Chat, thanks for joining us live. We're going to do a little thing that we did last time we had Chris on the show, where you tell us the name of the dev. You tell us the dev name.
The internal name.
The internal
and
name.
we tell you what it ended up being in the live release.
Well, we have to guess. Yeah. So we'll keep it short because we want to get them the hell out of here. But yeah, just a fun way to wind down with the Twitch chat there. So.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to say a dev name and Twitch. You should guess the shipping name. Hopefully someone's watching Twitch because it's probably scrolling really fast.
Oh, there. Yeah.
Okay. Valkyrie bow. Easy one to start.
I feel like that's an easy one. Yeah. There's a couple of second delay here between us talking in the chat, which is unfortunate, but it helps prevent stream sniping, as it were. Okay, we have two answers that I expected a lot. We have Tiku's divination. We have hierarchy. Someone said Leviathan's breath. Oh, the chat
hierarchy of needs
majority
is correct.
is hierarchy.
Hierarchy, correct.
Okay. Bit of a harder one. Gravity and fire.
Gravity and fire?
Gravity and fire.
Gravity and fire. I'm trying to think if fire is like a code name for shoot or like actual fire. Gravity and fire.
I think I know which one it is.
Well, what do you
think about what those two might be as damage types?
Two-tailed fox?
There we go.
Oh,
There we go.
clever. A lot of chat got that two-tailed fox.
Nice.
Fair. Okay.
This is a player weapon, but Drake rocket launcher.
Drake rocket launcher?
Drake rocket launcher.
I want to quote so many Drake songs right now.
Let's see when chat lights up in just a minute here. We have answers saying we have Hothead, Dragon's Breath, Eyes of Tomorrow, Wardcliff Coil.
Eyes of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Eyes of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that weapon directly uses a bunch of tech from the Drake tank, the secondary firing mode on the Drake tank.
Oh, the lock-on.
Yeah, lock-on reticles.
Got it.
That's cool.
Oh, okay.
Slug spread shotgun.
Oh, I got it. Yep. I got it.
Chaperone and duality.
Single weapon. But yes, duality is right.
Good on it, yeah.
The next one. The dev name is duality.
The dev name was Duality?
Oh man,
This is the next question.
So it's not Duality, but the dev name was
It's not
Duality.
This is like a Titan character
What?
on the planet Titan. Like,
That's confusing.
I like how you mentioned the Duality answer, and now we go into the next question, which is Duality.
Yep.
Is it Merc's new exotic weapon?
It is not. It's an older weapon.
It's an
Well,
older
I've had a
weapon.
very boring dev name. I should have named it something cooler. Never mind this.
They called it Tank Top.
Look, you know what this one is, right?
I actually don't know what this one is.
Really? Oh well.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a lot of interesting guesses in the chat right now.
Yeah, I see the correct answer.
You do?
It
Oh,
is
is
indeed
it?
symmetry.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Oh, yeah.
Symmetry.
So I was called that one Transformer Scout for some reason. I think
Yeah,
that's what
there are
the
actually
character
two
name is.
different names for it. One is
Yeah.
Transformer Scout and one is Duality.
Transformer Scout.
It has the light and dark sides, right? Okay, I've got 6 more. Do we want to keep going or do we want to stop there?
Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
Chris, it's all in your court, buddy. We're taking up your time here.
Okay, this is a legendary perk. The dev name was The Basics of CQC.
This is a perk.
Yeah, legendary perk. Legendary weapon perk.
Basics of CQC.
And hopefully someone gets the reference because it's a pretty fun reference.
Is it threat detector?
Nope.
Is it the new one I like? I always forget.
So it's an oldish perk.
It's an old perk.
A couple people got it. Chat.
What is the answer?
Oh, yeah.
1-2 punch.
Has to be it.
Swashbuckler.
Swashbuckler. Yeah. Okay.
Cradle Trace.
What the hell?
Is this another perk?
This is an exotic weapon.
Cradle.
And, Cradle Trace, and the name comes from the lore.
Where's Bife?
Yeah.
It's like 5 a.m. Somebody get Bife on the phone.
Analyze.
By for Mylan would get it instantly.
Oh, Mylan raided our channel about an hour ago. Mylan, you get the answer right now or you're banned.
Hey, people also got the reference in Basics of CQC. It's from shoot, I have a blank on the name. Shit, what's that game that has Solid Snake as the main character? That game.
Metal Gear Solid.
There you go. Yeah, it's a Metal Gear Solid reference.
Oh, interesting.
CQC.
We have a lot of guesses in the chat on the exotic here. Did anyone get it?
Lots of people getting it. Ruinous Effigy. That is correct. It's like the cradle on IO. That was intended to be the like visual reference point for the trace rifle.
Oh, okay, got it.
Exotic Messenger.
I
No
feel
time to explain.
Yeah, I feel like that's got to be.
Nope.
Really? That was my first guess.
Dead messenger.
That's what we call it. The exotic messenger.
Exotic
Yeah,
messenger.
exactly. Dead to me.
But that
Makes
is
sense.
that is the exotic messenger, though.
It's a year 1 exotic.
Let's see if Chad is getting it.
Yeah, Vigilant Swing is correct.
Oh, Vigilance Wing.
Yeah, it started life as an exotic version of Messenger. Because Messenger is the D1 pulse rifle.
I mean, I
as well.
guess the 5 burst was a novelty at the time. Back in the day, we used to be able to equip the recoil mods on the arms. That made it a completely different gun.
Yep.
I forgot about that, Cammy. Wow.
Unbelievably good.
Yeah, next one, Magnet Rifle.
I feel like that's like an insult I say or something.
Magnet rifle.
It's like it has a lot of aim assist.
Yeah, I think of the most
That'd
aim
be-
assisted.
Yeah, I'm
exotic.
trying to
An
think.
accurate
Yeah.
guess up until
It's
recently.
that's not where the name comes from, but it was at one point like the most generous aim assist in the game.
Is it hard light?
Much more, well, maybe not much more annoying than hardline PvP.
Arbalist?
Arbalest is correct.
Oh, definitely a magnet rifle. I'm
Yep.
embarrassed I missed that one.
I'm so upset that
Yeah,
I
it's like
got
the
that.
magnetic accelerator cannon thing. Okay, next one, Arm Blaster.
Arm blaster? I think I know this one, maybe, but I'm not going to guess. Is it a reference to something, or would that give it away?
Yeah, it is a reference.
I feel like a lot of people guessing
you're
what
right.
I would guess in the chat right now.
Yep. Oh, the first one I saw, Jotun. That is correct.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, because it like wraps around your hand.
Yeah. Little
That's
Mega Man
very-
vibes there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Mega Man reference. Okay, last one, Vampiric Pulse.
I feel like I know what that is, but I will.
Yeah,
I will hold back. I feel like I know what it is because I've been using it tonight.
Just as I say, it just got a massive buff
Yeah,
by proxy.
with a wild exotic chest piece.
I'm like actually lost.
Really?
No, you know what it is.
No, come on.
Oh wait,
Trey.
I do know what it is.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, it's all over the chat right now.
Yeah. Collective Obligation. There we go.
There you
That
go.
Okay.
yeah, that previous change is so good to it.
Yeah.
That's wild
Yeah, it's real
stuff
strong. It's on everyone's minds. It's a bit too easy.
for sure.
Yeah,
I gotta
that's all I
name my
had.
exotics.
Oh, thank you. I
Holy
appreciate
stuff,
that.
This is terrible. All of mine are so boring because I always
Thank
want to
you
know
so
exactly what they are. I gotta start naming them really cool.
You got to come up with a
things.
cool one. Yeah, come on, Merc, get on
Yep.
that.
I just want you to know I'm gonna call Arbalest magnet rifle.
Magnet
from now
rifle.
on.
Yeah. He's got the magnet rifle.
And my favorite one of those was always Thunder Lady, but we asked that one last time. So
I do remember that. Before I do, outro conclusion. Anything else you want to say or share before we completely wrap up?
Many things I want to share. I don't know how many I'm allowed to.
Anything you can share? No, that's probably fine. You've shared plenty. Again, I know we thanked you at the beginning of the show, but just so much fun to have you guys on the show, and talking about your craft. It's very much appreciated, mostly because you don't really need to. If you wanted to, you could just be out there with your head down doing what you do. But it's just a fun way to get in touch with the community, and I know that we appreciate it. I know that the listeners appreciate it. And speaking of the listeners, thank you all so much for tuning into the live show, and thank you for submitting your questions on Twitter for both Merc and Chris. It's just been fantastic. Normally I would go around and we do our here's you can find me at YouTube, whatever, but now we're just gonna go to be respectful to their time. Thank you so much for joining us. And all the great work that you put into the game. And here's to the future, and have a great night, everybody.
Always a blast. Thanks, folks.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us on. It was fun to be back.
Anytime.